Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead, and Greg Soulje is back with us today to give us our first of the week weather outlooks. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Sarah. Nice to be with you here on a Tuesday, which is a day's worth of pretty much quiet weather in the Corn Belt. Big warm up underway in the plains, and this wide disparity of temperatures from the northern Corn Belt to the areas down towards Commodity Classic. They're going to be up around the 90-degree mark this afternoon and then some. So there it is, a pretty impressive range of temperatures and weather across the middle part of the country.
That's down in San Antonio, I believe, right? Commodity Classic. And of course, we've all seen the images from out east with the snow. So it seems more like a Midwest snow, but we're glad it didn't hit here.
38 inches at Providence, Rhode Island was the biggest number I could find just in glancing on through. And that, by the way, is a heavy, wet packing snow. I think I saw something out on the socials where roughly a 1 square foot shovel load of that snow is the equivalent of about 20 pounds. Most of these snows have been, the very light, fluffy type stuff. This is your classic, what do they call it? Heart attack type snow.
Yep.
So it has a lot of moisture content. They got some additional drought relief out there of probably 2 or 3 or 4 inches worth of rain. But it's going to take a while to move out, dig out. And just to make matters worse, there's more snow in the forecast out there later tonight and tomorrow. A couple of inches, but 1 inch will probably put people over the edge.
Exactly. Well, I'm going to put your slides up and let you give us the forecast.
Okay. Meanwhile, back here across the middle part of the country, we've got a couple of weather systems on the move, kind of a progression of Clipper style weather systems, some a little more energetic than the other. And this is kind of the trend that you develop when you have this range of temperatures from readings that'll be down below zero north of Sault Ste. Marie. And as I pointed out, daytime highs into central and southern Texas the next couple, well, at least outside of San Antonio, they'll be back down into the 80s, but low to mid 90s in the Rio Grande Valley. So that range of temperatures gets weather systems to move on through. Gusty winds as well, with Mother Nature trying to do a balancing act of these weather systems. None of these are going to be really amounting to a whole heck of a lot. There's a little snow in the northern Great Lakes region. Each one will produce a little drabble of snow, a little rain, nothing of scale or magnitude compared to what went on off to the east, but a pretty busy weather pattern the next several days with tracking these weather systems across the middle part of the country. In any event, the cold weather, if you want to call it that, is for now limited across North Dakota. It will play out into the upper Great Lakes region. The next couple of nights, we'll be looking at readings down near or below zero there. Meanwhile, 80-degree weather across parts of Oklahoma, as we pointed out, low to mid 90s from San Antonio to the Rio Grande Valley. And of course, anytime you get these weather systems move on through, they don't tap into a lot of Gulf moisture. You don't get humidities to climb, plus the breeze, plus the mild air, plus what's left of dried out tender vegetation. Spark that with heavier or hotter engine equipment. And sometimes you got to keep an eye on these wildfires that may tend to break out from time to time over the middle part of the country, especially. And of course, the wind issue, where it is cold, it generates some degree of chill, but there's not much chill going on at all this afternoon. Look at readings down into the Ozarks. They're in the 60s this afternoon, wind blown 40s into parts of the Corn Belt and 30s as well. But in any event, a quiet weather picture where snowpack and snow cover is diminishing rapidly, what's left of it, through the western and northern Corn Belt locales. There was another round of frost and freeze as far south as Orlando this morning, but some of those usual protective measures were far more at least impactful compared to some of the cold and wind of a few weeks ago, where the helicopters and the smudge pots and the sprinkler systems could do no help to those 30-mile-an-hour winds and temperatures down in the mid-20s. I believe that the roughly estimated loss on citrus and agricultural products down there because of the cold a couple of weeks ago starts at $1 billion down there. So that is going to be something that will have to be watched going forward here, obviously, in the days and weeks to come. Otherwise, temperatures recovering back across the western Gulf Coast area, and some gusty winds as well, as you would expect in this particular setup and these wide-ranging temperatures across the country. Meanwhile, across the western reaches, we did see some improvement to some of the snowpack across the Cascades. The Sierra ranges were probably no better than about 40 to maybe in some areas of Northern California and the Cascades, about 60% of normal snowpack. Desert southwestern reaches, that's the western flank of some of that heat, pushing close to the 90-degree mark. There will be a little more progression of weather systems next week across the western states. It is the vanguard So what we do foresee is a pattern shift, and we've talked about this, that we think the front side, upside, start side of springtime and field work starts wet in the plains, moves into the Corn Belt locales, and it may be a little problematic getting things going. But we are in the world of one heck of a dry, drought-ridden weather pattern in a wide area of the southern plains, but really centered on Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Visible satellite picture from today, you can kind of see a streak of clouds that extend from the Pacific Northwest, and they kind of angular their way southeast into the Carolinas, maybe offshore Myrtle Beach. That is the jet stream. That is jet stream Cirrus, and that jet stream is cranking along at about 120, 130 miles per hour up at jet airplane level, about 35 to 39,000 feet. A couple of systems up to the north and back across areas of Northern California and the Pacific Northwest. The isobars are packed from Texas into the eastern Corn Belt today, so some stout winds. Couple of weather systems, one anchored well to the north across Canada, weaker system coming out of the central plains, and there's the upper air wind pattern, and it is moving right along. That'll be a quick airplane ride from SeaTac, let's say down to about Myrtle Beach or Raleigh-Durham with that upper air wind pattern. And that H area offshore of Baja, that eastern flank is kind of representative of almost a summertime air mass up aloft, and hence those readings, as we pointed out, heading towards the low to mid 90s from San Antonio to the Rio Grande and back into the desert Southwest the next couple of days. There is a little bit of rain and snow coming on down into parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, a few sprinkles into eastern Iowa right now, some shower activity into northern California, the Pacific Northwest. The snow levels for there are relatively high, but the rainfall is appreciated into the Rogue River Basin, Willamette Valley, parts of northern California, a little snow into parts of Big Sky Country, and modestly colder air. Any semblance of an Arctic air mass will be across North Dakota, northern Minnesota, the northern lakes region with a couple of frontal boundaries on the move. And yeah, there's more snow back in the forecast and winter weather advisories for western New York State and Pennsylvania underway out there. So those weather systems continue their move on through. And by the time we get to tomorrow morning, we've got a little wraparound effect of some colder air and some snow showers and flurries winding down over the Great Lakes region. The moisture does pick up across the western reaches of California, Great Basin, and Intermountain West, and some shower activity in the southeastern states. Then later on tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, there may be a little dusting to a short inch or two of snow on colder surfaces coming out of Iowa, northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin. A little rain farther down to the south. Don't worry, because behind this warm front developing through the plains and that boundary across the Ozarks, those readings are pushing back in the 40s and 50s, and some of those 40s and 50s are forecast to work in for the end part of the week across the Midwest. And there'll be some welcome rain in some of the drier areas of the Tennessee Valley. Some of that snow did catch parts of Virginia and North Carolina, but we continue to improve soil moisture levels there. There is a little field work going on, some corn planting through southern Texas, across the Gulf Coast, Florida Panhandle. Of course, there's recovering and assessing things from the cold a few weeks ago. And so the rains continue on tomorrow afternoon, or at least Thursday afternoon, over the deep south and southeastern sections of the country. Milder Pacific air works into the plains and Corn Belt locales. And anything we eke out the next 24 hours will be focused across the western states. A little finger of moisture through the Dakotas. That'll be some light snowfall there and into the Northeast and New England. Whoops, we'll go back to that temperature panel, which might be a little tough to see, but lows tonight down below zero into the upper Midwest or the Canadian border, and they'll be stuck in the single digits and teens there. But look at the range. You go from the single digits, teens and 20s over the Great Lakes areas to daytime temperatures in the 60s and 70s across much of the plains, and then 80s to low 90s down through central and southern Texas. So that wide disparity of temperatures, and it's typical of late wintertime and springtime, strengthens the jet streams, and any of these buckles and weather systems usually generate an increasingly active weather pattern. And with time, we'll get some moisture into play as well. That little finger of snowfall was welcome yesterday. It was quite a range west of North Platte yesterday. They were in the 50s and 60s, and they're doing just that, at least into the 40s and 50s this afternoon over that snow-covered area, extending out of Lincoln and Omaha across central Iowa and into the Lakes region there, upper Lakes region. And that's helping to keep temperatures a little bit colder. That was very much more prevalent yesterday, and you can see little or nothing going on in the snowfall department across much of the Midwest, a little bit on the ground into parts of Ohio and Indiana. But over the next several days, it'll be melting away and shifting on northward. The upper wind pattern for the Friday into the weekend, early next week, very much two ribbons of air, one separating kind of weather systems systems moving into California. You can see them there coming ashore between Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That system will move into the plains and Midwest, the first of multiple rounds of moisture moving forward over the next month for the plains and Midwest. So dryness and drought related issues, we're going to begin to nibble it away. Now's the time to do it before we get full tilt into the spring planting operations. And a separate ribbon of air, that's the Arctic air, that's cold air. No sign of that coming southward really anytime soon. It may nibble parts of the upper Midwest, upper Great Lakes areas into the northeast of New England, but very much a mild conclusion to February and the start of meteorological springtime on March 1st. And the weather systems, the coldest of the air under that high by Saturday to Sunday into the upper Great Lakes areas and upper Midwest, and that high will move off to the east and southeast. You can kind of see a boundary setting up between Monday and Tuesday, extends from the central and southern plains into the Ohio Valley and southern New England. That becomes the focal point for systems to track along it. So some folks get snow, some folks get rain. It is that time of the year. We got to watch thunderstorm activity ramping on up, but it's moisture. And again, some of this will likely be some wet snow at times over parts of the plains, western Corn Belt, northern Corn Belt locales. But again, time to get some soil moisture back in where we've been very much running deficits here for months, if not a year gone by, as it applies to parts of the Corn Belt. So the blizzard is winding down over the northeast of New England, digging out, melting out, whatever they need to do out there. The focus to more significant precipitation is going to be focused into areas of Oregon and northern California. Weather system will bring some much needed rainfall as it moves out of the eastern and southern Corn Belt into the mid-Atlantic region, the southeastern states. And yeah, they're getting ready to go with field work down there. So some additional rainfall of an inch or two. Otherwise, dry across much of the south central United States, parts of the far southern Corn Belt, lower Mississippi Valley, where some of those areas into the southern plains of Oklahoma, Texas, and the desert Southwest will be looking at daytime temperatures kind of flirting with records there. And maybe some of that warmth, by the way, with some near record setting warmth, maybe beginning to show up in the maps and charts late next week over the middle part of the country. The next 7 days, the focus of weather is wet weather in the southeast, maybe some snow and rain worth a quarter to 3/4 of an inch if you melt it all down into the far eastern sections of the Corn Belt and kind of winding down its way out of the Pacific Northwest. There's the drought monitor from late last week. And a number of areas that are kind of beginning to teleconnect. And when that goes on, that's just not very good news. But we're hoping that we can balance moisture recharge and a wet spring, good part of spring, first half of spring at least, versus field work and getting subsoil moisture up to stuff as we get into the summertime season. And we've got an El Nino to talk about. Weak El Ninos are tough to see in summer. Their impacts are kind of diffuse. Sometimes it leans a little more towards wetter in some areas. More moderate to stronger El Nino sometimes could be something that's worth watching with dryness and drought in mind, or expanding dryness and drought. So we may run the pendulum around here until we get a pretty good fix on El Nino going forward. So this is critical here. Look at Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio into the southeastern and southern plains, worsening down through Texas. It will do so with the heat coming along. Not much in the way of a significant winter precip season across the western states, in particular the Four Corners, the central and southern Rockies. When you get that going on, you worry about fires getting going in the early season heat out across the western states. And again, we've got worsening issues down through Florida, the southeast, and into the mid-Atlantic region. Really, the only areas that are seeing improvement is eastern Ohio and the northeast and New England when we melt all that snow down over the next several days. And there is the worst of it. They are clamoring for moisture, and they have been forewarned where it's going to be a challenging juggling act of spring field work and organized rains probably through mid-spring. What are you going to do? We tried to get this fixed during the course of wintertime, but failed miserably. The next 6 to 10 days, no Arctic air, no real super cold air in sight whatsoever. So weather systems have to kind of work on their own dynamics without getting cold air wrapped into these features. So they will tend to be, when they come out, more liquidy, limited sun, more clouds, not much of a drop off on lows, no real cold air at night. Daytime readings should generally be daytime readings above average. So a pretty mild setup expected across the middle part of the country. No endorsement, but the right idea. Any glancing cold air should be focused across the upper lakes region of the northeast of New England. And that is early season heat over the south southwest and probably an early tap on the snow, on what snow there is in the peaks of the southwestern states and into the central and southern Sierra. So again, it's been a dismal moisture season. We're going to tap into it. Think we're going to be off and running into probably an early fire season out there when we do get the monsoon setup going across the western reaches of the country. There is a little more promising setup. The general right idea, I think a little overdone through New Mexico and Texas, but the right idea. And if you could just kind of think and get your mindset on that corridor over the middle part of the country, it may ebb and flow in varying senses of moisture gain each and every week, but we're moving into, we think, here for the next several weeks, probably next 6 weeks to maybe 2 months of a little more active weather pattern. Wrong time. Hopefully the right moisture category taking aim at the plains and Corn Belt locales. Our next update that is on the live stream, and we'll continue to update the longer range stuff. And of course, we have the 4-week forecast on This Week in Agribusiness. But anyway, we'll get together here on the 18th on a Wednesday with our half-hour live stream coming up then. So until then, thanks for watching, and enjoy these waning days of wintertime, meteorological wintertime across the country there, Sarah.
Very good. Well, thank you for that update, and we will check in with you a little later this week to see if there's some more things that we need to be talking about and watching out there. So thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll certainly update Brazil and Argentina as well. A little more rain showing up in some of those drier reaches, and we'll talk about that on Friday.
Very good. So mark your calendars and tune in then. Thank you all for joining us.